Hi there, I have a snowflake card with a white on white theme to it. Very traditional, very elegant. So we'll show you how this is done. We'll introduce the die that we'll be using, some of the other products. I have the bold snowflake Flurry, that will be the star of today's show. A few other products. We have the large polka dot mask we'll be using some texture paste through, and that will be the polar white sparkle texture paste. Going to be using a palette knife for that. And later on, towards the end, we will be embellishing the center of our snowflake with the Always and Forever Diamante charms. Aren't they beautiful? They're actually from the wedding collection, but I think they work beautifully for this. Going to be using a clear perfect medium, and the embossing powder we'll be using is the Brilliant Sparkle Silver Light. It's very glittery, so it'll show through that snowflake so pretty. And a little bit of satin ribbon. We're going to use the white satin ribbon, the whiter of the two in the package here. Okay, so let's put all this to the side and get started. There we go. First thing I'm going to do is a little bit of the sparkle texture paste. So I've got my mask, a piece of coconut white card, and I'm going to do a little bit of taping in place. I'm a big believer in taping when I do anything like this. And I'll get it all taped down. I'll give you a quick measurement. I'm just using some of the removable tape for this. And just catching the edge of the mask and not covering the actual design there. The mask itself is about it's just short of 6 by 6, so I'm using a little bit larger 6 1/4 inch square piece. I like to have a little bit extra so I can tape it. The sparkle texture paste is the polar white, so you can see how pretty that is. It's a white with a white glitter, so you don't get a different interference color. Now, one of the things I always say when you do any kind of texturing through a mask is, because this is a wet product, you want to work quickly, okay? Because it's going to give your card a little bit of a ripple, so get a fair amount out. Start from the corner, spread it towards you, just like you're spreading butter on toast. Just peel it through, take the extra bit off. There we go. A little bit more up in this corner here. Spread it down. And don't worry about putting too much on, because you're going to take any extra off. There we go. Just get all those nice little patterns filled up and gently scrape away the extra bit. And you can even do the sides here. You don't want to waste it. There we go. Take a quick look. I've got one little spot there I missed, and a little bit heavy right there. Looks pretty good. Take that up. And let's just peel away our tape. Now I tape opposite sides, so I'm going to peel them away first. And I don't tend to reuse this because it's got the paste on it. You could clean it down and use it for something else later. Let's do this one first. When you get to that third side, be sure and hold your mask down. And I like to leave the last one in place when I do the final thing, because if you've missed a spot, it acts as a hinge. So you can just peel this up and see whether you've got everything you need and pull it away from there, and that looks like it's done perfectly. So pop that there and then take your last piece of tape off. Now, because this is a wet product, you're going to have to set it aside to dry. There we go. But you can see how pretty that looks. And when it dries, it'll flatten out too, so you won't have any of that curling and bending. The only other thing that I need to point out is whenever you use a mask, you want to clean it. So bring your grind boss in, don't let any of that sparkle texture paste dry on there, and clean it off really well. Otherwise, the next time you go to use it, you're going to have bits that might contaminate your card or cause some issues with it laying flat onto your card. Okay, and if you're at home, just run it under a tap with a little brush. You can do that, and let me just wipe that down. Okay, so now set that aside to dry, but of course we've got one we did earlier, so you can see how pretty that looks. All right, gorgeous. Now I'm going to use the Snowflake Flurry, the large snowflake here, and I'm going to cut a spot in this in an aperture. It's a little bit thicker to cut through because you've obviously got that sparkle texture paste to cut through. But I believe we can do this. So let's just tape that into place. Try and get some of that card that's not actually got the texture paste on it yet. And oops, little piece there. Pop this through. It'll probably take a few passes back and forth. And it's going to be a little thicker, obviously, because of that, so it's going to be a little bit of a tighter move. Let's check it and see if we need to do another pass. Looks like it's cut, but I'm going to turn it and just give it one more pass through just to be sure. Okay. Let's see if that does the trick. And you may have to just pop some little bits out. So let's take that off and just give it a little poke. And where some of those pieces are, you might have to just go through and give it an extra little push to get it to come out. There we go, we're getting there. What's nice is you have a really nice snowflake too that you can use that's got a little bit of decoration on it, so you can use it for another project too. We are going to use the aperture for this. Okay. There we go. Isn't that gorgeous? Love the way that looks. Okay, so I have one I've done earlier, a little bit of mounting foam, so I'm going to set those to the side, bring that back in. So what I want to do now is to put some embossing powder behind that to show through. So I kind of have to just sort of eyeball where I want that. So up in that top corner there, I'm going to bring in my Clear Perfect Medium, and I'm just going to pop some onto the white card. Just get it nice and inky. And just sort of look through it and see whether I think I've got it covered. I think I need a tiny bit more just to get the edge of that snowflake there. Okay, that should do the trick. Bring this over, piece of copy paper to catch our excess, and our embossing powder. And you can see this is really, really highly glittered. So it's going to be a little bit more of a sort of a chunky look to it rather than a smooth embossing powder. Let's just see if that looks like it should cover it nicely. Oops, I think we got it. So clean this back up, pop it out of our way. There we go. Lid on. There we go. And while we're at it, let's just clean the texture paste off of that. Okay, good habit to get into. Bring in our embossing tool, and we'll give it a quick melt. There we go, it's starting to go. Once that heat tool heats up a little bit, you can see the change in the color. You'll get a lot more sparkly, in fact, once the powder melts. It's absolutely beautiful. Check it, make sure we've got all of it heated well. And that looks pretty good. Pop that to side. Now, we want to make sure that we haven't missed a spot, and that is going to cover behind that snowflake beautifully. First thing I want to do is I want to put the sentiment on. So before I go any further, I'm going to cut that. I'm using the Greetings of the Season, and I'm just going to offset that a little bit to the side and tape it into place so it stays nice and straight. There we go. And put that down. There we go. Okay. Check, that looks good. We'll just do a little bit with our tool-in-one to pop this out. This is a negative cutout that we're going to use from this, so we'll use the actual wording on another project, so there's no waste. Gently come out. Don't get all your curly cues caught. There we go. So you've got a really pretty negative from that. So I want to put that piece on first. Bring my card back over, and I want to put this into place here, so I'll use a little bit of tape on the side here. I think that'll work. Pop that down. And I'll just run some glue around the edge here. We'll use the fine liner. And that way we can get it to stick around these little letters really nice and well. This fine liner is perfect for this sort of thing because it gives you that option of getting in there with a fine tip and putting the glue exactly where you want it. I think that should work. Okay, so now I'm going to pop that on the bottom of the card. Try to line that up nice and straight with the bottom. And the glue actually allows you to kind of move it around a little bit, so if you're off, you can work with that. And bring back the snowflake that I've cut earlier, and I've got just a little bit of mounting foam on this. I'm going to raise it up a tiny bit, just a half portion. And I've put some around all the little, what I call the arms on the snowflake too, just to support them. And because I've got our embossing powder on that, I want to add a little bit of glue to it. So bring that back and just pop some glue down there so I know it's going to be nice and secure. Get all those little bits and around the edge there. Okay. And pop that just so it lines up. There we go. That looks fairly good. Okay, so you can see how it's coming along. You've got the snowflake with the aperture showing, and you've got all that pretty embossing powder coming through there. I want to add a little bit of a ribbon border between the two. So I've cut just a length of it. I'm going to tie a little knot just to offset it a little bit. Pop that into place, and we will tape it onto the back, and I want the knot just to sit right around there. In fact, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll use a tiny little glue dot that will hold it into place. Always handy to do. There we go. Pop that on there and move that around the back, and I'll just use a little bit of tape. Hold that. Put that one there and trim off the extra bit. There we go. Double check that I'm straight. There we go. Cut off the extra bit there. And I can bring in my backing. I've gone ahead and done some piercing, and I've layered it with the silver to tie in the colors. I'm going to raise it for a little bit of dimension. We'll put that right into the middle. Just center that nicely. There we go. And because that center of that snowflake needed something, I thought the perfect addition was one of these beautiful diamantes. So I'm going to use a glue dot. Pop that onto the back, and it will sit ever so nicely right in the center of that snowflake. There we go. I think that gives you an absolute beautiful card. Isn't that pretty? Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Our YouTube channel has so many more videos you can watch. Please feel free to subscribe to it so when new ones are added, you'll be notified of them too. Hope you've enjoyed today's show.